Namaste, everyone. Thanks very much for attending this live stream. We're going to be doing a series of talks on Karma Yoga of the Bhagavad Gita. And we'll probably be doing 3 talks in this series. Although, because we're doing it live stream, we may be getting inquiries from people, and we may end up doing a 4th or even 5th part. So please check the website for announcements on that. And we'll probably be posting an email address where you can send questions if you would like, or if you put them into the live chat, then we will try to address them. But since we're trying to keep the talks relatively short, we may end up doing a separate Q&A talk right at the very end of the series. So thank you very much for coming along, and as I said, we really invite participation. So if you have any questions, please do feel free. So in this discussion, we will be drawing verses from different parts of the Bhagavad Gita. There is one specific chapter in the Bhagavad Gita which has 18 chapters, and it's made up of 700 verses. There is one particular chapter that deals with Karma Yoga. But there is a necessity to understand and appreciate that while there may be different, what I will broadly call paths of yoga, for instance, Jnana Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, we hear these mantra yoga, we hear these different terms. It is actually incorrect to really think of these things as very rigid, kind of standalone systems. That is not the way things were dealt with or understood from the broader perspective of the Vedas, and even within the Bhagavad Gita itself. The process of yoga is the process of self-realization and God-realization. And so there is this understanding that we are in a certain situation or condition known as materially conditioned or materially entangled. And what we're seeing is direction to how to progressively advance or move along the spiritual path to a full spiritual awakening or enlightenment. So what we will see then is that there is almost like an evolving spiritual realization that takes place. And these different parts of the yoga process, and yoga here meaning the broader understanding, these different parts lead to a growing spiritual realization and understanding. So if we are going to talk about Karma Yoga, we first need to understand exactly what is karma. So this particular talk will be dealing about what is karma. On the next one that we do in the series, we'll be dealing with am I able to avoid karma? Is it avoidable? And of course, the third one will be Karma Yoga, the path to happiness. So trying to understand what is karma. Karma literally means action. And it is a very major topic in Eastern and yogic philosophy. There are different Eastern religions and spiritual paths that deal with the topic of karma. And it's completely different. Their approach to examining and trying to understand the nature of work or the nature of activity or actions is really different than what people, particularly in the Western world, are accustomed to. So if we want to consider, is there a problem associated with karma? Is there something that we need to be warned about, or is there something that really needs to be considered? And of course, there is. It's very significant. I think in the Western world, because of the exposure to Christianity, people are familiar with this idea, the concept of as you sow, so you shall reap. What you sow, that is what you reap. And sow here, of course, is in reference to like sowing a field. If I plant barley, barley grows. If I plant wheat, wheat grows. If I plant rice, rice grows. If I spread thorn seeds or seeds of weeds, that's what you get. So that understanding is there, but people don't think very much about it in relation to every aspect of your life. It's kind of like, it's something that you might think about once in a while. That understanding or that terminology or that phrase, which actually comes from the Bible, is further it's been modernized with what goes around comes around. And that's quite significant because in the yogic philosophy, one of the things that's really important to understand and appreciate is that whatever's going on in your life, wherever you find yourself at any one time, in other words, if you're basically miserable and unhappy, it's, your own fault. Maybe there's nothing that you're doing immediately, that has caused this, but it has definitely come from the past. There is this understanding that when you act, there will be, as they say, an equal and opposite reaction. Not necessarily opposite, but there will definitely be a reaction. Now, the understanding of karma is, of course, very much tied to what was dealt with, this subject of reincarnation or transmigration of the soul. For instance, when people take birth in this world, I think nobody will feel that we all start on an equal platform and position. When you show up, you already have a certain type of, you're born into a family with a specific geographical location. That's all different. You will be born into a family that has a certain economic status. So some people are born, as they say, with a silver spoon in their mouths. The other people have pretty much a, crap sandwich, to start off with. Somebody may have a body that is very handsome or beautiful. Others may be very plain or ordinary or even considered ugly. Your body may be extremely healthy, or it may suffer from great sickness right from the start. So we can see that, from the time that you entered this particular life in this body, everybody's dealt a different hand. And the understanding is that it is because of karma and karmic reaction. Karmic reaction, this is called karma phalam. Phalam means fruit. So it is the fruit or the result of your actions. It is quite common in the world today that people speak of or use the word karma. They're talking about karmic reaction. Oh, that's bad karma. But actually, from the way it is taught within the Vedas and the yoga system, karma is the action, and the result of that action is the fruit of that action. So we see that everybody is born in different circumstances. People think that when a baby is born, it's so cute and tiny and innocent and it's like it's got a clean slate. No, I'm sorry, that's not reality. Reality is that little guy has shown up with heaps of baggage. Just because you can't see it, it doesn't mean it's there. There are already heaps of baggage that comes with every new birth. And that is a carryover from a previous life. So why are we talking about this? Well, it's part of the bigger understanding of karma before we address, of course, as we said, karma yoga. So what we're speaking about now is what in Sanskrit is called samsara, this cycle of repeated birth and death. And the fact that the activities that we perform in this life are going to have an effect. And we must accept and experience the fruit or the result of all of our actions. If a person has acted in a very pious and very compassionate and a very caring manner, a generous manner, then the karmic fruit that they will experience will make it so that they are born in and experience an easier life and a higher standard of living, and perhaps enjoy more wealth and beauty and, you know, higher education and these types of things. Those opportunities will automatically be available. Now, I'd just like to make the point that your past karma, the past activities and the fruit that will come from them do not determine everything that's going on within this life. Your actions day to day also play an extremely significant and important role. And so when you act, there are three possible things that will happen. One is that there will be an instant reaction. If you are tasting some fruit that is sweet or bitter, karmically, that may have come from the very distant past. It may have come almost instantly from something that we have done right now, a decision that we've made, a choice that we've made. There is also the possibility that when we engage in some activity, there is going to be some time period before it becomes ripened or mature. Or it may appear as a seed that at some point in the future will sprout and develop and bear a fruit in some distant point. So those three conditions are there. If we try so hard to try and understand everything that's happening to me in my life and tying it to something that I have specifically done, that's going to be almost impossible. So, but the basic idea is this: when you engage in activity, you are going to be tied to this world because you will have to experience the karmic result, the karmic fruit of all of your actions. And we can give the example, if you've got two people in a dungeon and one person is chained to the wall with rusty old iron chains and they're feeling so depressed and, you know, their life is so hellish, and next to them you've got another person in the same situation, only their chains are like golden chains, and they're feeling like, oh, they're so proud of their golden chains, and looking over at you and going, poor guy, you know, he's just got these rusty old chains, you know, look what I've got. You know, from an objective point of view, both people are in the same place, they're in the same situation, they're experiencing overall the same things, only what's binding them is different. And so from the point of view of a yogi, from the point of view of a transcendentalist, both are actually in the same spot, they're in the same place. There is another problem with action or karma. The more we act with material motivation, and I'll speak about that in a little bit, the more we act with material motivation, the more we are going to be in this situation where seeds are planted within our heart that will make it so that at some point in the future, desire to act will suddenly spring up. So there are like these seeds that are planted in our heart. Every time we do it, we become, this is called material conditioning. So this is not at all desirable. And this is a constant thread and theme through most Eastern religions and paths of spirituality. It was presented very, very concisely by Patanjali in the Yoga Sutra on the second pada or chapter, in the 15th verse. He states that to the discriminating yogi, all the fruits of past actions, both pleasurable and painful, are considered sorrowful because they result in further bondage and suffering. I mean, that's quite extraordinary. Most people, they consider that they're working hard, trying to fend off bad things that may be happening in their life or avoid them from happening. And they're trying to engage in what they consider pleasurable, materially pleasurable activity. But from the point of a yogi, both are considered sorrowful because they result in further bondage and therefore suffering in the material world. And then he makes this quite extraordinary statement that pain which has not yet come is avoidable. Now we're going to be speaking about this point as we go forward, but I'll just put it out there that, whether you have not yet engaged in activity that will result in pain, or you have in the past, but you have not yet experienced the fruit or the result of that activity that will bring pain, both can be avoided. And then he states that avoidable pain is caused by the union of the seer or Purusha with that which is seen. Now this is, wow, what is that? This is an extraordinary concept and an understanding. And it speaks to this foundational understanding for anyone that wants to progress spiritually. There must be this understanding that I am not this particular body I am wearing. This is not me. I am an eternal spiritual being temporarily residing within this body. I am the seer of everything, and that which is seen, the material world, is separate from me. So this point is further reinforced in the Bhagavad Gita. In the 8th chapter, 3rd verse, it says, the Supreme Lord says, the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman. Brahman means that which is transcendental or spiritual. And his eternal nature is called the self or the Atma. You have an eternal nature. You have a temporary nature associated with this body, but you do have an eternal spiritual nature. Action that pertains to the development of these material bodies is called karma, or fruit of activities. So there's a really big subject connected with that basic statement, but we're just going to move on because we're dealing specifically with the subject of karma. So if this is the situation, if I am trapped within this material body that I have on, if I'm residing within it, what is it that I am to do if I am to escape the suffering condition known as material life? This is not a pessimistic view. This is a realistic view. If you want to become happy, if you want to attain and taste the actual happiness that you are entitled to, that is part of your eternal spiritual nature, then it's necessary to begin to consider this reality of who I am as a spiritual being, and not become overly absorbed as we are in this body that I have on, identifying with that body, identifying with that mind, all the desires that come from that body and mind, and the different identities or labels attached to that. So the process, what we're talking about is the process of self-realization. It is not an artificial undertaking or an artificial imposition. This is about coming to actually experience your true spiritual nature. It's about becoming free from all material entanglement and the suffering associated with that. And so it raises the big question, okay, if that's the situation, is there a way out of this predicament? Is there a way out? And we will be dealing with that in our next talk. So I'd like to invite you to tune in, and we will pick it up from this talk that we've just given, and give you the next piece of the jigsaw puzzle so that we can develop a fuller picture of karma. So I'd like to thank you very much for attending today, and thank the people that have come along here. We will just have a brief meditative kirtan. You know, the process of spiritual realization is not a mental process. It's not a mental exercise. It is necessary that we engage in a process that takes us, the living being, and even our material covering, the body and mind, and submerge it in that which is transcendental and that which is transcendence. It's like submerging the body in the ocean or in a stream somewhere. Every time we bathe in this spiritual sound, what it does is gradually purify our heart, our mind from material contamination, and allow us to increasingly, gradually, but increasingly experience the truth of our real spiritual identity. So I'm not sure whether our live stream technician is going to be together with us or not, but we'd like to, hopefully we'll be able to see the mantra that will appear on the screen below. The mantra is Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, and then in reverse, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. So in this kirtan process, a person will lead the chanting, and then we will join in responding to that. It is a responsorial process of hearing and then chanting, and just not artificially trying to focus on anything, just immerse yourself in the sound and experience the benefit. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol,